mean, I would say my favorite Kevin Smith movie is Red State. As much as I like Clerks, as much as I like Chasing Amy, those are very different movies, obviously.
Yeah.
Red State, for me, holds up. I know it didn't get the greatest reviews.
To me, as like a Kevin Smith novice, so to speak, you're more the aficionado. It gave me a sort of Coen Brothers flavor.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed how it connected to some things that have been more culturally relevant in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing it after watching some documentaries like Wild Wild Country, or Wild Wild, I think it's Wild Wild Country,
yep.
and the Koresh miniseries with Taylor Kitsch and our boy Mike Shannon as the head agent of the ATF.
You call him Mike Shannon is always
Mikey
your friend.
Shannon. Yeah, of course, I'm boys with Mike Shannon.
Let's talk about Kevin Smith first in general. I like Kevin Smith more as a person than an artist. That might be weird to say. I like hearing him talk. I love his podcast. I think Smodcast is hilarious.
Yeah.
He seems like a really nice, genuine dude. I think half of his filmography is shit. I don't want to. I know a lot of Kevin Smith fans are gonna hate me for that.
He is way off, loser.
But he's got a lot of misses, and but that's okay because I think he's got enough hits that makes him, makes me a fan of him in general. Like we said, Clerks, it's a classic. I even like Clerks 2 a lot.
Go-Kart Seat's a classic.
No, but that's okay. He's a guy you could tell he doesn't care what's conventional necessarily. He does what he wants, and the budget for his movies reflects that he's allowed to do what he wants because he's not in the Hollywood system. I don't think he's ever really been in the Hollywood system. Maybe Jersey Girl, but we don't need to talk about Jersey Girl.
To me, he's a guy who pulls together these basic movies like Clerks. It's got that independent film, right? The black and white.
In every way.
Yeah. He can just pull it together and he can pull a story structure around anything. It's just a matter of how focused he is on what he does. Like, I'm not trying to like stream yoga hosers or whatever. And when I'm trying to chill, right? But I
wanted to go through this whole review without mentioning that travesty.
Yeah, you should have told me and I fucked it up.
That's all right. But looking at Kevin Smith's other movies, comedies, right? They're all dialogue driven. Not that Red State isn't, but you watch his other movies and then you watch Red State. It is so different. It's I wish he would do something like that again. I don't know if he ever will. But I think he said that he wanted to make a Coen Brothers movie, or a movie that was the same style as Coen Brothers, and this very much is that. How would you define the genre?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to. It's got the.
Starts off as a horror.
Starts off as a horror. It maintains horror for a good amount. I think there are times when it's obviously in the thriller subgenre of that too. Then you just get to your straight up action towards the end.
Huge tone shift.
Yes.
Especially with the introduction of the great John Goodman.
Hello.
I was so happy when I saw him rolling over in that bed to pick up the phone and the wee hours of the morning.
Even the look of this movie is unlike anything he's ever done. It's very gritty, quick editing, quick shots, shaky, very, very shaky.
Okay.
A lot of jump cuts, a lot of weird jump cuts.
Yeah, and the tone shift reflects that. Like there are some. I want to say that it does more with cinematography than it does with a lot of other conventional elements. Like it's shot really well. You're terrified, not to spoil anything, but in certain situations when characters are trapped or are trying to find their way through something, the winding shots. The dialogue was solid, but there were some obvious misses too. Like there were some lines where you kind of just, I'll cut you some slack, Kevin. I'll pretend I didn't hear that one.
A lot of indulgent kind of
Yeah.
dialogue that you could see him liking only.
I mean, it's fun, right? He
yeah,
makes
it's
movies
fun.
for himself,
It doesn't
so that
break
does
the
make
movie at all.
sense.
How much you think a cross like that costs?
You mean in dollars or common sense?
Something I really like about the movie is that you don't, at least I didn't, you don't know where it's going. Every time you think you could see something going on, he completely shifts gears, and that comes to play with main characters. People you think would be the main character is now not. That happens multiple times.
Which is the mark of a good movie.
Yeah. He really changes gears.
It feels like a butterfly effect throughout in a lot of ways. Like a lot of these one-off decisions totally change the trajectory of, we'll say, over a dozen other offsetting events in this movie.
Just like one little mistake in it, chaos theory, it creates an explosion with also like there's so many departments involved and facets, and that's very Coen Brothers.
Yeah, our main villain, main antagonist,
Michael
Parks.
Based off of Fred Phelps from there. I guess the whole the church is based off of the Westboro Baptist Church.
Who was loosely mentioned in a phone call, right?
Is that right?
Later
Did they
on.
mention his name?
I believe so.
Oh,
I believe they
okay.
mentioned,
All right.
I think they changed the name. I think they said something else Phelps, like something Phelps.
Oh, I think the girl is based off of Megan Phelps, who coincidentally defected from the Westboro Baptist Church after this movie.
Yep.
It's almost like he knew. He knew who she was, or what she was going to do.
What I wasn't prepared for was the kindness.
Overall, I really did appreciate the look that we got at organizations like the Westboro Baptist Church, and I don't even know if it was satire as much as just downright just exaggeration somewhat of some of the practices, but it was a really cool look on that side. I understand they were pretty pissed about it.
Sure. Yep. They were the Westboro Baptist Church protested this movie heavily.
They're pissed about everything though, so.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that that's the only righteous message for this evil nation that has gone the way of the Brokeback Mountain. God's wrath is upon this nation.
It wasn't the perfect movie for me, but it was a good movie, and it was original enough where, it's definitely worth a watch. Absolutely. I think that one of the things that I really enjoyed was that sort of dread that you feel in the beginning, and then that relief at the end, but then you're not quite sure if it's relief, right? Because the movie will leave you with a weird ending note. And I think that it depends on who you are as a person watching through it, but I think overall it's a movie with a very uncertain tone shift that, it's kind of up to the viewer to decide at the end.
This is a movie where you could look at it and be like, well, Kevin Smith is a filmmaker. I know that sounds stupid, but you watch this and this is a movie made by a filmmaker. It's not a movie made by some Jersey guy in a convenience store. Not that we love Clerks, but
you showed some
there's
range.
a difference. Tusk, the movie, I think he made it after this one, also stars Michael Parks. That's another one I really like.
Another one with elements of that terror and that fear, right?
Very different kind of movie, though. It's not as serious. It's more of a comedy.
Big shout out to the Breaking Bad crossovers we experienced
There's a
with
couple.
this. Yeah, man, I love seeing me some Badger on the big screen.
Badger, Skyler. Oh, Stephen Root. Yeah.
Our boy Stephen Root back at it again.
Uh-huh.
As a very conflicted character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? One of the overarching themes, acceptance of LGBTQ in this area, right? Stephen Root is a guy who's caught between a couple things. He's not really sure what he wants to do in a situation. Then all of a sudden, it just comes through. Unfortunately, you'll have to watch to figure out.
Well, we'll just say he makes a mistake that causes the whole thing. But back to the butterfly effect. His mistake causes all the action in this movie.
He's the butterfly.
He's the butterfly. This church is gun nuts.
Yeah.
And it's obvious, but I think it's funny that if they didn't have guns, if they weren't so gun nuts, then none of this would have happened either, because you couldn't get the ATF involved.
One of the one-off lines in there is talking about how the ATF doesn't want to get involved right away because of the shitstorm that happened a little while back. That's essentially what happened to the David Koresh clan.
The title doesn't really make sense because there's not really any. It's not about conservatism in America or anything. It's just like
It's about the stereotypical backwoods idea of like what a red state would be. I think.
I guess guns
That's what
is
you
the
said,
only thing, but obviously it's a double entendre, red blood.
The guns,
state.
the non-acceptance of LGBTQ, right? That sort of idea of the a southern backwoods state. What state was it exactly?
I don't know. Probably like Alabama or something. But yeah, if you just watched it based on the title, I don't think you would get what you're expecting.
You would maybe expect to be more political or something. Yeah, I understand.
Not that it's not political. It's more about
Yeah.
bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's more about technicalities within departments. There's a lot of that.
I was not expecting that to come out.
It's a lot smarter than how it started. It becomes something smarter than at least the first half. If that made any sense at all.
A whole different movie. It made a little bit of sense. Don't worry.
Come on!
As independent as it is, there's a lot of there's still a lot of action. There's still a lot of explosions. A lot of there's a firefight that goes on through half the movie. There's a lot going on. I want Kevin Smith to do something like this again.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll take for him to do another, I guess, serious movie. There's a, I want to maybe like 10 to 15 minute monologue of Michael Parks. It's you could just tell like he's so into it.
A little too into it.
Yeah, suspiciously into it.
You might take me children out now for lessons, because it's gonna get grown up in here.
Great mullet featured in this movie.
It's a rat tail even. I don't even think it's.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's like between a mullet and a rat tail.
It's. You think it's a rat tail?
I think it's pretty thin in the back. All right. Well, I'll pull it up and
We'll investigate.
we'll analyze it. Yeah.
We'll
Rat
see.
tail or mullet?
You decide. Grab a beer with one character from this movie. Who is it?
Oh, a character or the actor?
Character.
Oh, probably John Goodman. I mean, he's the only competent character in this movie.
Yeah. And even that's questionable at points.
Yeah, he's. I don't think that's
Competently incompetent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was willing children, so maybe.
Yeah. It gave me some vibes from particularly not only Coen Brothers, but also a little Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
With the Pulp Fiction, right? The way things unravel due to one event.
I know Kevin Smith and Tarantino are friends with each other.
Jesus, I wonder what be a fly on the wall for that.
Well, they both started like the indie craze in the early 90s with Reservoir Dogs and Clerks. They both
Just from different.
really made
Okay.
indie, mainstream.
That's that'd be quite a blunt circle.
What?
Like pass the blunt around a circle.
Oh, I thought you
Kevin-
said
Kevin-
blood circle.
Blunt. No, not a blood circle.
That's a different thing.
Nope, not into that.
You're not?